Hey guys, what is up? It's Lee here and welcome to a new video. This is going to be a Solak guide. This is going to be a guide on the basing perspective in a duo. Now on screen now is inventory and equipment number 1. I'm going to do 2 slides on this because there is 2 different setups that you can take. Now this is sort of a setup if you want to get or guarantee your first couple of kills and when you want to learn the fight and stuff like that. So as you can see on the screen we are wearing full Achto. If you don't have full Achto then you can either use like Virtus, Tectonic, which I'll go into other setups later, but if you want to guarantee kills, then you must have Achto really. Runes in the rune pouch are Fire, Soul and Mud. This is for casting Shield Dome and also blood spells because I'm going to be on Ancients. I've got 2 types of runes in the inventory as well because I don't have a small rune pouch, so you can flame me for that, but I need to get one. I've got air runes there for casting Intercept because that's going to be very handy during pretty much the majority of this fight anyway, especially on phase 2. But all the perks on the gear and the inventory and the equipment will be in the description, so be sure to check them out if you have any questions regarding that. And if you do have any general questions, then please be free to drop it down in the comments below. So as you can see in the inventory, we've got 3 restores, 4 brews, 1 summoning flask for phase 4, Phoenix necklace for phase 4, 7 sailfish, a bladed dive switch with the Kopesh and the Excalibur, 4 ticking with the dual Praesuls, and then we've got our Luck of the Dwarfs, which you can actually bank and not have in your preset, but I just have it in my inventory because I claim the loot straight away and I don't really generally use much food. So yeah, 7 sailfish, and then the familiar is a Steel Titan plus the scrolls. If you are using a Pat Yak, which you can use, you know, free of your choice, then just fill it with a bunch of sailfish or food in general, and just make sure you do have a Steel Titan pouch and the scrolls in there ready to summon on the end of phase 3 going into phase 4, because a Titan is a big help during this fight, so be free to take that. So that is inventory and setup number 1. We'll go on to the second one now, which is a bit more DPS orientated, so we'll have a look at that. So here is the more DPS based sort of inventory and equipment, and you're going to be sacrificing more damage taken as well and also less inventory space. So if you can deal with taking more damage and, you know, not having as much food, then be free to try this sort of inventory and equipment out. So straight away we're using the Tectonic with the T90 boots. You can switch that up to Virtus if you require. The runes are all still the same. You can still cast an Intercept, but still using Ancients. You can switch that to Vuln and normal spellbook, but in case of anyone like fucks up or messes up, then I've got Intercept there to sort of get each other out of a hole if we do require. So in the inventory you can see we've got Dominion Mines there, which we're going to be planting on the same tick on sort of like before the kill starts. So when P1 starts and it goes into the root phase, then you are guaranteed to 1 tick a root, so that's 20k damage there because them Dominion Mines hit a 10k on each mine hits 10k, so that is like 20k extra damage there you're going to be using, and yeah, it helps quite a lot, even if it's not really necessary. If you don't have them, don't worry about it, it's not necessary, but it does help quite a bit during the fight. And also you can see there, equipment's the same apart from I'm taking a Seismic Singularity with flanking 3 on it. That is because it increases the damage dealt by using stuns, so impact and deep impact. It does not work with asphyxiate, but that is just going to be within I'm going to be adding that into my 4-tick rotation. So yeah, that is pretty much it for the more DPS orientated setup. You can use a Yak yet again, but during the whole fight I'm going to be using a Titan with setup number 1. So when you do progress, like I have now, sort of a couple of days after making this guide, or getting all the clips of the guide anyway, then I am actually using the setup as shown on screen right now. So maybe in the future I might redo this guide with a more DPS focused kill, and if any methods change, then, you know, I might make one on single phases, or I might make a complete whole new guide. But for now, this is the basics. This should be getting you actually into the boss itself, and hopefully get you your first couple of kills until you feel comfortable with changing the setups and changing the methods on how you do certain phases. So yeah, we'll crack on with phase 1 and we'll have a look at how that works. Right then, so before the fight starts, I just want to, you know, briefly talk about auras. You can pretty much use any aura here because the boss has such low defense. You're not really going to be splashing on anything at all. Maybe once or twice on the roots, but that's about it. You know, the boss has such low defense. You can use any aura, which is why this boss is sort of good in that sense. But yeah, on screen there is a area where you can place your 2 Dominion Mines on the same tick to deal 20k damage if required, just to get that first root down when they spawn on P1. Other than that, if you don't have them, then just make sure you're 100% adrenaline and you want to pretty much build to sunshine straight away. So once you have sunned, then you want to just get off your thresholds with a 4-tick rotation, Conch Blast into Wild Magic, and then as he sort of yells and spawns 2 green circles on the floor, you want to use a Combust because you're going to be dragging Solak over to your circle. So when you've done that, then pretty much you want to make sure you're in your circle, the same as your partner, otherwise you'll be dealt like a 6k damage, and then the roots will spawn, and then you can just pretty much pick them off one by one. But before you do that, you want to make sure Solak's down to about 2.7 mil HP, maybe even lower if you can. Maybe 2.65 if you're lucky, and yeah, you just want to be cycling defensives as you're going around the edge of the map, killing your roots off and making sure your HP stays high. So pretty much as you're finishing off your second to last route or even last route, you will get a timer and a red message on the screen and an arrow on your map. So you want to run to your arrow, use anticipation, and then surge bladed dive away at 1 second, and your partner should do the same. And then you want to make sure all the roots are dead before building to sunshine, and then sunshining somewhere in the middle of the room, and then just DPSing Solak down. Now pretty much what I'll do, because there's a lot of auto attacks and there's a lot of things to explain here, I have made a notepad which I'm going to stick in the description as well on how many autos certain attacks are. Save me trying to put them all on the screen now and making it look super confusing, and trying to just give you an overload of information which is totally not necessary. So I've got a notepad on each phase on how many autos is on what special attack, and so you can see that if you want. Rather than me trying to explain it on the screen, have the screen filled with pointless information that isn't really required. So yeah, that is optional if you guys do want to have a look at that. Now, when you have DPS Solak down enough and it's gone through a certain amount of auto attacks, and it will go into Roots and Arms phase, where you can't actually attack the main body of Solak, but you have to DPS down Solak's arms and legs. Now, there is a timer underneath the legs and the arms, which you can see filling up. The orange bar is filling up, and when that does fill up to full, then a load of Blightbound Lashes will spawn at 50k HP, and they will literally fuck you up, and that'll be pretty much the kill failed. Now, when you're onto doing the legs, you want to make sure you're sunshined and adren potted up, and you've got enough to do thresholds for when the legs are dead. Now, when the core does spawn, you want to just do a 4-tick rotation, using Wild Magic as fixed. If you're using flanking, change to flanking and use impact, deep impact, and just generally get as much HP down as you possibly can. And when this has happened, then the core will disappear over a certain amount of seconds. But if you've got it over or below 100k HP, then you'll easily get it in 2 rotations. Now afterwards, when Solak can resume to attack you, it'll do 8 autos. That'll again be in the notepad document below. So this is a really good time to DPS it as much as you possibly can, and hopefully skip the second part of the roots as we do right here. So if you do deal enough DPS and get Solak down to 2.25 mil HP, then it will completely skip the second rotation of roots and blight bombs, and you'll go straight back to doing the arms and legs, which is saving about 2 or 3 minutes on the kill, and it's saving a lot of supplies as well in theory, because you're taking a lot of unnecessary damage if you don't manage to skip the second part of the roots. So that yet again, do exactly the same as what you've just done on the same section of roots and arms, and yeah, that'll be pretty much it. The core will spawn again, get that DPS down, and then you'll go on to phase 2. So this is the second phase, phase 2, corruption phase. Now after sunning and killing the core, then you want to surge south and then start attacking the southwestern pillar. Now during this time it is quite useful to use your Excalibur if needed. Just use Wild Magic and pretty much the pillar should be dead. Your partner should click on Merciless and then you'll cleanse and you'll get a green message. Once you've got the green message, you can then surge straight into the blue circle where the pillar once was. During this time, you'll be teleported into the air and you want to spam click the Anima Storm so you deal the damage on it, and you have to kill the storm before the phase ends. So just be sure of random aggro during this phase, because they still haven't fixed the random aggro on phase 2. As you can see there, it just absolutely changed onto my partner and had to evoke it back off. Now during this, you will be getting anima stacks from the storm blights, which do fall from the sky during this phase, and you can see them on the right side of my debuff bar as the little purple circles. Now when these do get past I think 10 stacks, you will start healing the storm, but if this part of the phase is done correctly, you'll only need to cleanse the once at the start, and then it should only take 3 pillars maximum to actually kill the storm up the top. If not, just keep using Reflect during drop down, and any typeless damage that you do receive from the storm blights or the center of the room will count to actually killing the storm up above, and you will end up getting a green message in the chat box, as you can see right there, of the storm actually being killed and it dissipates. When that's happened, then you want to make your way north and onto the stone squares where me and Chris are currently stood, because at the moment it seems to be the most safest place to stand during this part of the phase coming up, and you want to make sure you both sun. If you're not comfortable on using sunshine, then you can just, you know, keep using defensives and even use immortality to save you if you do get hit by these anima eruptions. But other than that, there's nothing more to it other than cycling defensives, as this part of the phase is time based. So you just gotta wait until all the eruptions have finally come out of the ground, and then we'll be on to the third rotation of phase 2. So after all the anima bombs have pretty much come out the ground, you want to then grab the Nature's Blessing, which is shining down onto the ground, and it's like a protective shield, which I think protects of either 70 or 80% of damage. Now during this phase, you want to sort between you and your partner on who's dropping what shield first. In this case, Chris is dropping the first and the third shield, and I'm going to be dropping the second and the fourth shield, leading up onto phase 3. So during this, it'll do a rain attack where you can cade and intercept your partner, and during this time it will be doing a set amount of auto attacks, which is noted on the notepad in the description. And then it will go on to its second special attack during this part of the phase, where your partner will run up the arm of Solak, meaning you can use Metamorphosis or Sunshine. It's best if you use Meta and do a threshold rotation, because you will be doing increased damage, as you can see by all the 10Ks that I'm dealing from the auto attacks and the thresholds. So that is very nice to do, and then it'll be 4 autos before doing another rain, and this is where you want to be getting ready to click on your Nature's Blessing button, which is currently below my buff bar, which can be moved during the edit settings of the interface. So I've dropped my Nature's Blessing, protecting Chris, and during this time my barricade will be on cooldown. If not, if you've got a defensive reset, then do not use barricade during this time. You want to save it for the tornado attack, which is coming up. So during this, all you want to do is just cycle Reflect, Debilitate, and you can even use Devotion if you want, but just make sure when the Nature's Blessing runs out and the rain ends, during the tornado attack, which is happening now, you are on 100% adrenaline, meaning that you can barricade and intercept your partner during these little rain attacks that it does do. So after the rain attack has happened, you want to surge to Merciless and use Resonance, because you will have a lot of blight stacks on you and you will heal a decent amount, and you want to use Cleanse as well. So you want to res before you cleanse ideally, and then this is sort of like another time based attack where you just have to DPS it down and wait for Solak to do its special attacks before the next rain happens. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the main hardest part, in my opinion, of this boss, is sort of getting the routine and the timing down on cade and intercepting, and knowing between you and your partner who's dropping what Nature's Blessing. So it will say a few words above its head, and during this time just surge away, because it will spawn roots on the ground. It will give your partner, again, blight bombs, so all the information of this will be down in the description below. But other than that, it's pretty much a time-based phase. Get Solak down to 1.2 mil HP, and that'll be the HP cap, where you pretty much just have to wait until the phase ends, until that purple corruption bar goes to 0, and then pretty much phase 3 will start. So on to phase 3. Now what you want to do, you want to surge directly south and cleanse at Merciless, and then once you've done this, then you want to stand on the circles which do appear on the floor. Now you can go about this going clockwise or anti-clockwise, charging up the circles one by one. So I end up going anti-clockwise, and that's how I've always been doing it. So what you want to do, as you can see, you've got the blue light that's charging around the circle where you're standing. When that hits 12 o'clock or north, then that'll mean the circle will change colour to purple, and then you can surge away and go into the next circle. So what you want to do, you want to surge either east or west, depending on which way you're going to go around, and you want to use Sunshine. My Sunshine was in an awkward position there, so I saved using my thresholds until when I was stood in my Sunshine. So on the second circle, Solak will do 2 auto attacks before using a stun. So all you want to do is anticipate beforehand, and then use Impact, Deep Impact, or Asphyxiate, whichever you have available. And then you can cycle your defensives if you need to, or tend to like res at least one of the hits there before he goes into the trapped state. Now after you've done the first 2 circles, every circle from then on until the very last one, you'll pretty much do 3 autos before adding the blight bomb to your partner, and then it'll be another 2 autos in the midst of that, and then it'll do a stun. So in 5 auto attacks, he'll do the stun. So just be wary of that. Use Anticipation or Freedom on the 3rd or 4th auto attack, and then use Impact or Asphyx or Deep Impact to remove yourself from getting stunned. So what you want to do when you've used your stun and it says the person has stunned Solak, you then want to use Resonance, because you do get a nice heal and it saves you using any food during this phase. I mean, if you do need to use food, you can use Debil or Devotion during this phase, but just to make sure, don't use Devotion or anything like that on the last circle, unless because when you go into the realm on phase 4, which I'll talk about in a minute, then it won't be available to use, and it will set you back quite a lot. So that's pretty much it. It's just quite repetitive, this phase. It's just a DPS down phase until you get to 300k HP, and when you charge the last circle. You just want to make sure you stack shards as well, because they're going to help in phase 4. But other than that, pretty simple phase. Just keep rotating around the map, charging the circles up, and keep your HP high. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The only thing you've got to really look out for on phase 3 is just the purple blight bombs, which seem to fall randomly on the circles. There's no really set direction of where they go. All they do is if they do hit you, they'll deal like 2k damage and add 2 blight stacks to you, which can be cleansed from Merciless, but honestly it's not really needed, as this phase you don't really eat any food anyway, especially if you cycle your defensives correctly, then you know there's no need to actually eat on this phase at all, which is pretty nice. If one does fall near you when Solak's in its trap state by the next circle, then you can just simply move away from it and it won't actually hit you. So when it comes to charging the last circle before going into phase 4, all you want to do is use Preparation to get your Resonance off cooldown, res the 3rd or 4th auto attack, or even the 5th, and then use Anticipation, Debilitate, and then you want to use Impact and build back up to 100% Adrenaline. You want to make sure that there's 10 shards stacked and that you are 100% Adren before going into phase 4, and that's pretty much it for phase 3. So once you've phased from 3 to 4, this will be the final part of the phase, and you want to make sure you're 100% Adren, you've used your Excalibur, and you are soul splitting for the first part of the phase. Now, as you can see on screen, I've put the important abilities you're going to be using as base tank on the screen. Now the first one being Natural Instinct, then Metamorphosis, then Wild Magic and Shatter before dipping into the realm. So when Solak is attackable, you want to also spam your Summoning Potion as well for your Steel Titan. So use your Wild Magic and then just keep using a 4-tick rotation and then use Shatter. Use 1 or 2 abilities after shattering and then dip into the realm. So once you've dipped into the realm, the important abilities for the realm are on screen. So that's Chain, Reflect, Devotion and Barricade. You want to make sure you're wearing your Phoenix Necklace as well, because this can save the kill if it goes tits up. So you just want to tag the Manifestation Shadows whilst using the abilities on screen. When your Devotion does run out, then you just want to use Barricade, Adren Pot up, and make sure you can use another threshold like Reflect or Devotion if you do get a defensive reset. If you don't, then you can Shield Dome if the kill is not dead by now. But if you're going to make it, just take your sign off, because it will actually use your sign before prioritizing your sign over actually resurrecting you. So in this case, I saved my sign even though I still rezzed at the end anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the kill done. Hope this guide helps. If you want any more questions, if you've got any questions, want any more answers, let me know down in the comments below. But yeah, that is pretty much it. Hope you do get your kills if you've not got them already, and I do hope this improves your kills if you are wanting to get a lot. So yeah, that is it, guys. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you in the next one. So have fun, stay safe, and peace.